Hello, and welcome to Plain English for Beginners. I hope this course will be equal parts informative, fun, but also really functional, which is why I've gone back to the flag. Hold on, now it says part 1. Does that mean there's going to be more than one part? Look, let's just wait till the end and see. So once again, welcome and let's begin. Let's face it, English is a mongrel language made up of so many languages, ultimately indicative of its history of being invaded or invading other places. Some believe that a profound change occurred after French-speaking William the Conqueror defeated poor King Harold in the Battle of Hastings, which led to French becoming the official language of England for the 3 centuries that followed. What that meant was that everyone became ha ha ha. No, jokes aside, words basically got longer. So instead of saying, look, I'll just get some cold cuts, please, you'd have to say charcuterie. Another key factor, pardon the pun, to unnecessary complexity and formality is clearly academic tradition or legacy. That idea that you had to write in a certain way for a specific audience, and if you did not understand it, therefore you were not learned enough or smart enough. So in a way, knowledge was kept safely behind lock and key, pardon the pun, or you intentionally just kept people in the dark. Again, pardon the pun. Speaking of which, to find out what that kind of text looked like, just click on the key. And this is what it can look like. Here we've got a text on horticulture, and who doesn't love a bit of horticulture? But as you can see, it's all just one chunk of text and doesn't seem very inviting. Turn the page over to see what an alternative might be. Okay, well, much better. I can see now that there are chunks of text and they've been divided into paragraphs, and you've got a heading there that will tell you what it's about. So the first one we know is about the different disciplines of horticulture. The second one's about the importance of soil composition. And finally, you've got physiology and growth cycles in planting. That way, as a reader, I can go to the part that I'm more interested in. The language, granted, still needs work, but we'll get back to that later. Bureaucracy and the language of institutions is another big culprit. Think government speech. And this is probably best personified by legalese, which has never just really been confined to the courtroom, but has been prevalent in everyday life, most specifically contracts. Click on any of the files to get an example of this. Now, contracts are your standard agreement that we've all signed at some point in our life. Now here we're looking at your typical job contract, which tries to cover its bases, but basically is normally in favor of the employer. Now click on the magnifying glass to get an example of the language. Now I forgot to mention in the previous slide that the only reason it's in the favor of the employer is that they're the ones that have drafted it. But that's not the point. Let's have a look at the language that is used in the first paragraph. It says, I acknowledge and understand that my employment with ABC Software Developers, heretofore referred to as ABC, is defined as at-will employment as it is for an unspecified period of time. I further acknowledge and understand that my employment relationship with ABC may be terminated at any time without cause or notice by myself or my employer. Now, this could easily be reworded to, I acknowledge that my job with ABC is at will employment, meaning it is for an unspecified period. I also acknowledge that I or ABC may end my contract without any cause or notice. We don't have to pretend like we're arch enemies, and we still keep the tone of it. This is not saying that all plain English practitioners are democratic and open. One employer that I had for plain English who believed they were more this guy, were really that guy. What the dickens, wink, wink, wink. Now that we've done our detective work and discovered what the main causes are, let's look at what the usual suspects are so we know how to fix it. Again, if you'll be ever so kind to click on the magnifying glass for the big reveal. And here they are, ladies and gentlemen. Complex structure, large paragraphs, no headings, long words directly from the French, long sentences, anything where your breath runs out, nominalization where we use the verb as a noun, which we'll talk about, and passive voice where we don't know who does what. If you enjoyed this little spiel or course, then stay tuned for part 2, coming to a lappy or a smartphone near you. Coming soon. Plain English 2, plain and plainer.